Hi there, and welcome back to the Painted Lady Coaching by Amanda Douglas. I'm Amanda Douglas. Life gave me a PhD in narcissistic abuse, so I'm here to educate the masses on toxic relationship cycles and how to break out of them. Everything from childhood to romantic relationships, I got you covered. So today I'm going to be talking about the concept of self-worth, especially as it applies to after narcissistic abuse. Narcissistic abuse can definitely impact your concept of self-worth and just the way that you look at yourself all in all, and it often just happens before you even realize it. Once you are out of a narcissistic dynamic or a toxic dynamic, you are really able to see through and through how that has impacted you. It can be a little disappointing. It can bring up a lot of emotions. It can bring up a lot of things like shame and anger and just overall just disappointment in yourself. And in this video, I'm going to just kind of outline how that can happen and some actionable tips and steps to help you reclaim your self-worth. So a narcissistic partner can erode at your self-worth in a multitude of ways, like through different forms of manipulation, gaslighting, and devaluation tactics. I know in my personal experience, a lot of it was just toxic shame, like putting me down for some of my choices as far as my tattoos or maybe some mistakes that I've made in life, and that was, letting him in on my past and choices that I've made that I was vulnerable and, shared with him, but then was later used to kind of beat me down and devalue me, put me down, and even call me horrific names, and even cut me off from doing things that I really enjoyed, and just generally not approving of anything that didn't directly benefit him. They tend to not see you as your own person and rather just an extension of who they are. So all of this can kind of lead to a sense of self-doubt and a loss of identity, and often just feelings of worthlessness or inadequacy. So it's definitely no surprise on how common it might be for someone who has endured all of this to feel a sense of blame or just feeling very worthless and inadequate after being exposed to all of this for such a prolonged amount of time. So one of the first things that I would say to kind of start to just reshape this and improve upon this is to recognize that you are worthy and valuable because you are. I would say that's the first thing to kind of start to internalize and replace the old belief with this belief. Your value is not determined by someone else's perception or opinion of you. Some other exercises that you can do to target some specific beliefs that have now been internalized is to journal. And a specific journaling technique that I like to do for this is to identify the specific belief about yourself, what your life would look like in X amount of years if you keep on holding on to this belief, and then identify the opposite of that belief. And then how different would your life be if you chose to believe the new belief and really live in the new belief. It's a very good thought exercise, and it does get down to the nitty-gritty of what it really is for you. And sometimes working through and kind of analyzing these with a therapist or a coach can also be really helpful. And they can ask more compelling questions to challenge these beliefs. Honestly, another one of my favorites is affirmations. I loved just writing down affirmations and also meditating on particular affirmations. Those did really, really well for me, I would say, and along with meditating on it for sure. Something else you could do that I would definitely suggest to try is also EFT tapping. I feel like it's almost a good way to incorporate radical self-acceptance if you recognize that maybe you are not, I guess, in the place that you would like to be with certain beliefs. And how this would look with EFT is, you tap on the certain points. And I know there's it's the side of the hand, the side of the eyebrow, and then I think in the forehead and the top of the head. I feel like I'm missing one right now. But I know those are the tapping points. And then you would say something like, although I recognize like there's room for improvement, I am making an active choice to love myself every single day. That's just off the top of my head. I feel like, you know, there's definitely like more that you could flesh out with that, or even maybe just look up some like EFT tapping like sequences like for this like specifically, and also like just kind of create your own as well. But I think that could be a good way, like if you like have a hard time with like regular affirmations, then this could also be a good thing to try as too. But if you struggle with like your regular everyday affirmations, EFT tapping can be a good way to kind of just start to feel safe with like adopting a new belief. Some other self-validation techniques include acknowledging your emotions and processing your emotions. Always naming the emotion whenever things come up for you, and just taking the time to sit with it and lean into it and get curious about it and just kind of understand the underlying story and maybe why this may be coming up at all. And when acknowledging your emotions, of course, to always remember to not judge the emotion, but stay curious. Emotions are a very natural response to the things that we have experienced. And of course, reframing negative self-talk. And that kind of looks like what I was talking about with the EFT tapping. Like, instead of saying like, I'm not good enough, we're gonna replace that with, I am enough and I'm still learning and growing. So every time a negative thought arises, we have to consciously replace it with something kinder and more compassionate. And of course, I've said it once and I'll say it again, celebrate the small wins with everything. And this is no exception. So when you successfully set a boundary with somebody, like, give yourself your flowers. If you accomplished a task that you set for yourself, give yourself your flowers on that. Recognize it. Take the time to do so. So create that habit of recognizing your achievements. Write them down in a journal. Get yourself a little treat from Starbucks, like whatever. Phone a friend. It's all important. So also take the time to recognize your strengths and take the time to remember any time that you've overcome very difficult things in life. So whenever you start to doubt yourself, like, just think of those things and remind yourself of how resilient you are and how capable you are of doing very difficult things. Make a list, even just make a list of all of the things that you've done that were badass. And whenever you start to feel this way, just take a look at it. And that can go a long way, trust me. And also rest. Like, rest is also very necessary when you're feeling overwhelmed with things. Like, do things to practice self-care and take the time that you need. And when you feel like that you can't do it or shouldn't do it, that's probably when you need it the most. Validate yourself and your need for rest when your body signals are telling you that you need to do so. Pushing through will just further cause exhaustion and wreak havoc on your nervous system. And that type of shit can take a while to recover from. And always remember to trust your intuition. And I won't stop saying this. Like, that inner voice has got your back. And your instincts are only going to lead you closer to who you truly are and where you truly want to be with the people you truly want to be with. And also reinforcing those boundaries as well. You never have to justify yourself to anyone, and you don't need anyone else to validate or approve of you. And again, this is another one that I'm going to just keep on reiterating, like, give yourself grace whenever you mess up, because this is a learning process and healing is a process, and that is a-okay. Part of also reclaiming your self-worth is also reestablishing the relationship with yourself. The importance of building self-compassion and self-trust are going to be super critical with this as well. Setting those small achievable goals and celebrating them when they happen is super important. And also keep leaning into those practices with mindfulness, meditation, and all the self-care routines to help you feel like your best self. And I would say, like, meditation made such a difference for me, and it's like something I've never really stopped doing since I started doing it, just because it really did help me connect more with myself and my spirituality, which they're kind of more or less the same. I felt so much closer to myself since really staying on those practices. And again, setting those healthy boundaries and staying consistent and persistent with the healthy boundaries. I did make a whole video on that, so you can refer to that video if you want to learn more on how to do that and the importance of all of that. And then also part of reconnecting with yourself and your sense of self-worth is also reconnecting with your passions and your strengths. And that's something you can even journal about, like maybe just journal like about your past hobbies and passions and of that sort, what you've really felt good about doing in the past, or maybe what you've had some curiosity of like pursuing, or what skills that you maybe want to pick up, and just make a list of that or journal about that. And that can be like a great way of reconnecting with yourself and also building that sense of self-worth and confidence, and also just a general sense of identity. I can tell you for sure that I would say one of the biggest things that was just so heartbreaking to realize for me was that I did just lose a good bit of my identity, and that's just because of how much my abuser had just amputated myself from me. So I can't stress it enough. And again, why I just feel so compelled to do the work that I do. And so I guess with that, another thing that I would like to say about getting reconnected with past passions and hobbies, if you don't exactly like really feel as connected to it as you used to, that's also okay as well. And even though that can be like such a frustrating thing, you can maybe either just give it some time just to see how you really feel about it, because I would say for sure that there are some things that I did love that I just like, I try to revisit it, and like no matter how many times I did, I just didn't care. But then there are some other things that like it took me a while to really get interested in doing it again. But then like, you know, the spark and the desire to do a lot of like the crafty stuff that I like to do, it came around eventually. But just some things just do take time to come back, and then sometimes they don't, and that's okay. That tells you something about yourself, that maybe that was just a season and that's that, and that is all okay, and just part of understanding who you are right now. And also that old version of you can never get back. So it's like there also may be this desire to get back to who you once were, like before your abuser, but I think in reality, like you can't be that person again, because you're not there. You are a new person with like new experiences and new information. So the only way you can go is forward and never backward. But you can choose to set a new path for yourself, and like a much more beautiful path, and a more authentic path, and a healthier path. I am living proof of that, and I am here for you. Which also brings me to my next point, and that's another one that I will say a ton, is that have your support networks. Therapy, coaching, and even one that I somehow didn't think about before, but like support groups, whether that's like in person, like with maybe like a church maybe, or even like online, like on Facebook. There's Facebook groups. Like sometimes it is nice just to be able to confide in people that just have been through similar experiences. But you do want to work with like professionals like coaches and therapists for sure, because they are they're gonna have techniques and tools for you to have in order to help you move past and help you understand where you still may be affected, if that makes sense. And again, after leaving a relationship like this, there's often like a fear of getting into new relationships and trusting people, understandably for a good reason. And later this week, I'm actually going to do like a whole video on this, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. But a big, key and like to help you feel more comfortable in that is to kind of like, again, just reconnecting with your self-worth and just kind of getting tools in your toolbox especially with boundaries and communication, and that'll help you build that confidence. Having those tools and working on like your self-improvement and self-development are key really to maintaining like self-worth and confidence long term. And just some things to kind of close this out with: healing is possible. It is absolutely possible, and I'm going to stress that over and over and over. Your worth is never taken away or diminished because of your abuser. You have the choice and empowerment to reclaim your identity and your sense of self-worth, and to rebuild and to be on a much healthier and happier path, and to live authentically and live your best life. But I want to hear from you if you have any insights, or if you've, had a similar journey or are still on that journey, and you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. For anyone that may be seeking some personalized guidance on their journey, I do have one-on-one coaching sessions. If you check my channel and my links in my channel, you can book a free consultation with me to see if we would be a good fit to work together. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, and share, and do all the things to help your girl get out there. And I'm really glad you're here, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye.